Hey guys, Tim and Dave here from the Single Malt Review, proving that the threat was real, because it is another Kiwi craft whiskey here coming at you today. Whether you want it or not, we want it, that's for damn sure. What have we got, Dave?
Well, this one's been on my radar for a very long time, and now it is on my table. It's a very kind gift from the good folks at Kiwi Spirit Distillery. This is a Waitui whiskey. This is an 8-year-old New Zealand single malt, and it is especially singular, and it's been matured for all those 8 years in an ex-mead barrel.
Yeah, you know, I didn't do the research, as I'm wont to not do, but I think that would make this Scotch whiskey heresy. I don't think mead barrels have been anointed by the Commission as an allowed cask. I think they're yet to pass muster, so we're dealing with something very special and very otherwise untasted internationally here. It's going to be some interesting stuff, and it really is some interesting stuff. I'll bust in here while I describe the notion that some people may be familiar with. We talk about Dave whiskey on this channel, and Dave whiskey can be typified as one of two things. Sort of big sweet whiskies and interesting finishes.
Yes, a bonkers cask and a big, sweet, full-bodied whiskey. I love it.
This is quite possibly the Davest Dave whiskey we have ever featured in the now long history of covering Dave whiskies on the channel. This is going to be, I think, polarizing, because this is a hell of a finish.
It's not just matured in mead barrels. It is manuka honey mead. And manuka being a sort of uniquely New Zealand tea tree, despite not being tea or a tree. It produces a peculiarly, almost savoury honey, sort of famed and sold under premium worldwide because of its unique properties. It sure
is. Manuka is a funny old thing.
Yeah.
It can be described in many different ways, and I've heard it described many different ways. Savoury is one thing. I call it, it's downright medicinal. Yeah. It's quite a medicinal thing. And the scientific, the medical benefits of that, tested or otherwise, are certainly flaunted as a big thing. You can pay an astonishing amount of money for New Zealand Manuka honey in the form of bandages, pills, cure-alls. It's quite a phenomenon behind it. So to use that as your base for making mead, that's a costly way of making mead. Yeah. That is the single malt of mead right there. So anyway, but the thing, how this is going to come through from us, it's a very, very strong taste. It's a hell of a strong honey. It really, really sticks around. It's very, very pungent, very, very strong. So casks suitably seasoned with it are going to really, really sort of, they're going to bring the business. And as Dave's about to find out, this one brings the business.
Now, you told me off camera they're a Bulgarian oak?
Bulgarian oak, yeah. And they come in medium char, I think I got that right, and they come in otherwise virgin. And then the mead goes in for just a year, and then the mead comes out into a next cask, a sort of a rolling mini Solera system, I suppose. But then that cask, suitably seasoned, the whiskey goes into that one for, in this case, a full 8 years, which sounds like not a long time, but for New Zealand distilling, that's a long time. Yeah. That's some of the oldest whiskey in the current wave. And here's Isla,
subtropical climate. That is
just to punish us for putting cameras on the table. You mind, cat? All right. So we'll get into it as we taste it, but the effect of the finish on this whiskey is profound. Yeah. It is. I would love to try and I'll forgive them for not having it, because that's this is what this whiskey is. There is only one flavour of Waitui whiskey. Isla, if you knock that phone down.
So having cat trouble?
Thank you. All right, you blast you off the table. Okay. This whiskey is absolutely inseparable from its finish. They are one
it's not even
and
finish.
the same.
It is
I suppose no, it's not. It's a maturation, isn't it? There's
it is.
What would normally be a finish is the whole thing.
Yeah.
So let's have a wee taste here, or a wee sniff, I should say.
Bottled at 40%, correct?
40% ABV. No colouring. Chill filtration remains a mystery.
It's a heavy colour, that natural cask colour. It's so rich and golden.
For sure,
Actually reminds me of straight up manuka honey.
It does. And on the nose, fun enough, honey.
Yes.
But not just honey. There is... Whereas a honey would be a footnote in the tasting notes of so many other whiskies from Speyside, Highlands, wherever, and it would be called honey, or maybe heather honey. This is like the Eskimo words for snow. There is so much stratification of honey going on here. There is honey, there is honeycomb, there is some pollen notes to it.
It's distinctly manuka honey as well. That slightly medicinal.
Yeah.
There's even a hint of Irish moss in here.
It's a deep, dark medicinal honey.
Yeah. Kind of like the mead you get from manuka as well.
Yeah, and on the whiskey side, the oak is there very, very strongly.
Yeah.
There's a big vanilla there. There's a big spice to it as well, almost trending into kind of a bourbon spice territory. There's lovely cinnamon. There's quite a bit of clove and allspice. It's a very, very sort of deep, pungent whiskey. Like if up here is the sort of delicate lilting space side, this is down here in the deep, dark flavour country. Right, 40%, so it shouldn't be too much of a battle on the palate. Oh boy, oh boy. That honey, that mead maturation, it is one and the same. It's such an interesting thing. This is like no other whiskey on the planet, and we'll come around to that. That could be its one weakness. It's kryptonite.
It is such a rich honeyed nectar flavour with a kind of almost a throat burning, sticky, sharp sweetness to it. It's so intense, so
conspicuously sweet. And we should add, as they do, no sugar added. This is not a liqueur.
This hasn't been post honeyed. It's not a liqueur. It's not a whiskey concoction. No.
The only molecules of sugar that this one may possess is what it managed to leach out the side of the mead cask, and even those, the mead in there should be coming pretty well dry, unless it's been stopped fermented. It would have been pretty well fermented all the way through. So the sweetness is all ethereal, it's all figurative, it's all in the mind. It's we've entered the sweetness matrix, and it's all virtual.
It'll be like traces of unfermented honey that's soaked into the wood, so maybe that mead sweetness coming through. But it's not been post sweetened or anything like that.
But the effect is,
like it, though.
The effect is you get a quite profoundly strong flavour for merely a 40% whiskey. If this whiskey was 46, nay 50%, it might even be overpowering.
I think a barrel-proof version of this would just be possibly a threat to life and limb.
It'd be something else, but
I'd certainly try it.
40%, as this may be, and we normally have a bit of a grumble at 40%, just because that's sort of not the craft presentation that we're used to in this day and age. 43 is kind of the baseline now, but there's such a concentration of flavour here that it really doesn't do it any harm.
Yeah, this would, as with that, it would be challenging, possibly dangerous at higher strengths.
Important too, because this being one of the craftier craft whiskies out there, 4 barrels of this are laid down a year, and that is not a great deal of whiskey.
That's what, a few hundred, maybe 1,000 bottles.
I'd have to know the capacity of those casks, but it's a wee drop in the ocean for really any distillery. It is absolutely tiny.
Yeah, this was a 2014 distillation, right? A 2022 bottling.
I'd have to have a look at the box, but it's 2014, 2015, something around there, because it is 8-year-old as a minimum whiskey, and this is. I thought I'd almost talk myself into it's like, right, I'm going to be bad cop on this one, and Dave's going to be good cop, and this is going to be super divisive. But I think I'm starting to come around to this one a bit more positively. I thought I was going to stand here and cross my arms and say this is too weird, this is too different. But actually, either it's gained a bit of sort of bottle age as I've had it uncorked for a couple of weeks, or maybe I've just come around. Maybe my palate has just come around. But I'm loving this way more than when I first tasted it. This is very difficult
There's
to
initial,
score.
I guess, culture shock when you're just not used to this intensity of sweet wood character in your whiskey. I've had sweetish whiskies before. It's obviously my personal preference when it comes to whiskies from Scotland, India in particular. But to have something that's just so unapologetically, unabashedly, outrageously sweet.
So I think there is one caveat here, which is know what you're getting in for, and what you're getting in for is the honey character. If you do not want a massively honey character, probably stay away.
Yeah, so avoid the whiskey that's matured exclusively in ex-mead barrels if you're not a honey fan.
But if you are down to clown on that honeyed goodness, and I didn't think I was, but actually maybe I am on this second tasting here. But I think there's something here that you are not going to taste anywhere else in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something to be said for that in terms of points for uniqueness. I'm really, really wrestling. I don't know if you can tell with the scores for this one. This is probably one of the most difficult whiskies I will have scored in some time because it is so unique. And so much of my internal machinery that goes into scoring whiskies is comparing something to something else. You can imagine a big expanding matrix in my brain of all the whiskies and all the scores I've given them. So much of scoring a whiskey cogently is doing it on the spot as well. Is, all right, is it better than this? Is it worse than this? Okay, this kind of goes in between Glenmorangie, Quinta Ruban, and Arbalur 12-year-old, and goodness, what would we give it? Okay. You can't do this with these whiskies because they're not like anything else. They have no peers. Not to say it is peerless, but it really, really does kind of stand on an island in terms of similar whiskies. And I think that's very much this one's benefit. It's such a unique thing, such a force of flavour. And I really, really do think I have to give it... I think I've got to give this one 89. I think I've got to give it 89. I think there's no... I thought I was going to be lower. I thought I was going to be low 80s, but I'm not. I have either subconsciously or consciously talked myself around, and on tasting this one, it's grown on me, and that's where I'm sitting. What are we going at here?
Very similar score from me. We cut straight to a chase, and that is 90 points. This is some gold medal top tier whiskey.
Yeah.
It's part... Obviously, it ticks all my flavour boxes. It's a curious cask. It's very sweet. That's a very surface level what I like about this. But beyond that, it has a richness and a strength and just a quirky uniqueness as well. It's unmistakably whiskey, but it's been pushed into so many daring, adventurous directions. It's on the edge of liqueur sweetness. It's the oak is still there, though. It is so daring and different, and it's just a really bold choice, and I'm glad to have finally got to try it because, as we say, produced in fairly small quantities. But despite that, it is still, I think, available at a fair and very accessible price. It's not obviously not a cheap whiskey. It will set you back, but it's not outrageously unaffordably priced either. It is
considering the production and the scale of production, you could pay a lot more for. Not even similarly niche Scottish examples.
It's about on par with the average 18 or 20-year-old Scotch in today's prices.
Oh, a mass-produced one? Yeah, thereabouts, I'd say. Thereabouts, depending on where you were shopping. I'm thinking more on par with things of similarly micro-scale.
Gotcha.
Micro-scale bottling, they will ding you much harder than that for other sort of farm distillers, as they like to call themselves. But anyway, we shan't speculate there. But what we shall do, and what other people listening from New Zealand might want to do, is catch up with us and the rest of the local distilling gang, Waitui Whisky included, at the Dark Spirits Expo. That should be a real nice afternoon. We're going to be there on Saturday afternoon, if that affects your decision of when to go. And we might see you there. But cheers very much to Waitui Whisky, the Kiwi Spirits. I'm going to say it wrong. This has been such a curse. We had to do this one 3 times because Dave couldn't remember what was 3 words.
Kiwi Spirits Distillery.
Gotcha. Yes, gotcha. Yep, done. All right. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead here. So, Sladra, cheers to that. And there's going to be more New Zealand craft whiskey coming up. I'm not going to stop. I can't be stopped. I won't be stopped. Never.